Welcome to An American Homestead, podcasting live from deep within the Ozark Mountains at an elevation of 2,200 feet. It's 8 Central, 9 Eastern, and it's great to be back. And so we have she's like, everything in her body at this time of night's like wanting to shut down. And I'm like, come on, we gotta keep going, go.
And the yelling.
Okay.
Oh.
Alrighty, we got a packed show for you guys tonight. A lot of news articles, all kinds of great stuff. Got some giveaways we're going to do tonight. Trivia question tonight. And we're going to talk about Baker Creek because that time is quickly approaching. Spring will be here before you know it. And so what are we going to start and do different this year in the garden? What are we going to order from Baker Creek Company this year? So we'll talk about it. Anyway, starting off as we usually do, I got my decaf coffee.
I'm glad it's decaf.
Mm-hmm. And you have, what'd you do this week?
Oh, gosh. Why do you always ask me that?
Well, we did a lot. There's a video coming out tomorrow showing you and the renovation that's underway.
Yeah.
In the hallway. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so you're putting in some new shelves. Talk about that.
Well, I'm
for books.
running out of bookshelf space. I can't really get rid of books. I have a mild problem. But, they're useful, and we read them, and we look at them, and I love books. So we are building a library in the hallway.
Library in the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess it's going to be shelves in the back of the hallway and then on the sides.
Yeah, on the
and
one side.
Your dad's been working on building the shelves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So all that's kind of what's going on right now. So we have renovations. There's a video coming out of new one of you cooking. We're going to be doing our homestead Ozark Mountain potato squash. That's one of our favorite things to eat on the homestead. Mm-hmm. I mean, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So, and there's going to be a little bit of grilling on there too. So it's going to be good stuff. Mm-hmm. We already ate it.
Yeah,
but the video comes out this week.
The leftovers, I just mixed together the squash and the stuffing. And made it into filling for burritos.
They were good.
And we had those for dinner tonight.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. So we did that. You entered the fray of owning a smartphone.
Yeah.
So I needed to upgrade my phone. It was like approaching, I guess, 3 years. And it was starting to go out on me. And I used the phone for a lot of recording, like in the truck when I'm doing things like that. So I needed to get a new phone. It was just not working out anymore. It was dying. So I've been bugging her for a long time saying, honey, you really need to get a phone. And, when she goes to town or has to go to the city, she'll take my phone. And so I have no problem with her just taking my phone and using it. But at the same time, she needs her own. She needs her own phone. So...
Yeah.
They had a deal going on where you buy one, get one. So we went ahead and got a family plan.
I mean, I can see the uses of it. And I actually was pretty proud of myself because I listen to podcasts, but I always only find them on the websites on my computer. So I will click through the website of whatever podcast I want to watch or listen to. And so that's how I find it.
So you listen to a lot of like homeschooling stuff.
Homeschooling and reading books, stuff like that. Anyway, but I found a podcast app which let me find my podcast
What was the name of the
on
app?
it.
Did you find it on the Google Play Store?
I did, and it was free. He's laughing at me because
At first, she was like, "What do I do? What do I do?" I'm like, "You'll figure it out."
it's like this foreign thing in my hand that just, I can't make it do what I want it to do. And I mean, you guys, everyone else thinks that this is intuitive, right? Like you just scroll here or move your finger there and all of a sudden it does what you want. Well, how do you know to do that?
It just takes practice. And you found the podcasting software all by yourself.
I did.
Someone said, did you go Apple? No, we don't like. You know why I don't like Apple cell phones? It's just as simple as this: is that you can't use it as a storage drive. And Android devices, you can drop files on it, take files off, and that makes me happy. So that's why I don't like Apple. Anyway, so yeah, we got you a cell phone. You caught up to the rest of everyone else.
Yeah, but like anything else, it's gonna have rules for I really, really think that we need to set screen time rules for our children, but I think we also need to set them for ourselves. And it's really one of my, I don't know, one of the
guy
things.
The guy at the store asked, is like, so, because Joshua, the kids were there with us, right? And he's like, so, do you have a cell phone? And I was like, no.
I just think it's a given for kids. But I think that we as moms and adults need to think about how much time we're spending on our phones and the computer and in front of the television or whatever our thing may be, because really it's a time suck and it can get you sucked in quicker than anything. And to me, I would rather be spending my time doing something productive, or if I have downtime, it's going to be spent reading a book.
Yeah. Limit your screen time. Hey, it was Steve Jobs said I would never give my kid an iPad. That's what he said. Go look it up. He said I'd never give my kid an iPad.
Yeah.
And because he knew it would ruin their creativity. So today I want to talk about, first off, Baker Creek. We have Baker Creek Heirloom seed catalog that came, and I thought I would just go through here, flip through, and I know most of you guys have this, right? So most of you guys have this at home. So go ahead and pull it out while we're doing the podcast, and you guys can read along with us, and when we go to chat later on, you guys can tell us what you guys are getting. I thought that'd be kind of cool. So most of you, I know when these things come out, I see all the Facebook posts and all the comments when we say we get ours that you got yours too. So if you've got it, go ahead and pull it out. We'll go ahead and go through some things. I'll show you what we're going to get. We're looking at maybe getting this year. I guess last year's garden, I mean, there were things that did really well and things that didn't. So it's like every year, right?
Yeah, but I think that we just didn't have the time last summer that we needed to invest in it.
Yeah, we still had some successes. I'm thinking of the onions. We've tried for years to get onions, and last year we did good on onions.
Right.
I mean
onions were better.
Yeah, so now this coming year I'm going to do like twice as many onions, or maybe 3 times as many onions, because I think I figured out a trick. Coming in a later video, I'll show you what I discovered. But we have always had problems with onions, and last year it was a great year. We got it to work. But tomatoes were a little lacking, even though I think I like the variety. We did the mortgage lifters, and I think they did okay. I think the weather played a part, and also me playing a part in keeping them watered efficiently. I didn't water them a lot of times, so a lot of times when a rain would come, because I hadn't watered them a little bit, on the days when they needed it, they would soak up so much water that they would crack. And so they were gigantic. Many of them were good and just amazing looking fruit, but it was just, they would crack because they would grow so fast because of that rainstorm that came through. And so we lost a lot that way. And it was just me not paying attention is really the result, or the cause. So I was thinking about a mulberry dwarf. So we have a couple mulberry trees out here in the front yard, and they produce every year, but it's getting them because you don't get them until they fall because the trees are so tall. And so on page 8, they have these mulberries. Let me see if I can get that in there. Mulberry, dwarf mulberry on page 8. So that's what I'm thinking about, getting a couple of those. I'll talk with Tim and see if we can figure out a place to put those. But you get 2 plants for $15. I think that's worth trying. And because we already have mulberries growing on the property nearby, that would be a great way to pollinate them, cross-pollinate, and ensure a good crop. And they do produce really well, the 2 mulberry trees. So I was thinking about that. And then on page 9, they have the Chicago Hardy. I'm really looking at that. Chicago Hardy fig. And it's a cold weather fig. So, I mean, Chicago, right? Chicago's cold. Well, our friend over at Shalom Acres, Chris and Stephanie, they have these, and I think they're going to try to clone some for us and give us some of those.
They've grown those successfully?
Mm-hmm, yep.
They are warmer than we are, though.
They are a little warmer, but it's Chicago.
Okay.
I mean, anything with Chicago in the name should work here.
Well,
I'm thinking.
we'll see.
Right? Chicago.
I hope so.
Grow in pots in the ground in partial shade to full sun from zone 5 to 10. That's easy us. We're in like between 6 and 7. So that should be no problem for us. So, and then the other one on this page, there's like 3 on this in this page here, is this dwarf banana plant. So, dwarf banana plant. And so we tried growing bananas before, but I'm told, and that was a big failure. So people want to know updates on the banana plants. And so I did that landscaping video not too long ago, and I think we're pretty happy with the landscaping we got going. But I'm not giving up on the bananas yet. So I was told, and I've read, that the smaller the banana plant, the smaller the variety, the better chance it can grow, and the more cold hardy it is. So maybe we'll try that. They can get them to grow in Missouri in greenhouses. Maybe we can get them to grow here. I've been told by people in the area that all you got to do is chop them down, cover with mulch, cover the root with mulch, and then you're okay. It'll grow back. I'm willing to try again. What else? I mean, is there anything you want to grow this year that you've been looking, you thought about maybe
I always just want like some, I really like our squash that we have, but it would be nice to have a smaller version. Plus, I like the spaghetti squash.
Smaller version of the squash we grow?
I mean, like a butternut or something like that.
The only thing I worry about with squash is that they can so easily cross-pollinate. So you got to really separate them by some distance. So this was the Bulgarian giant leek. On page 54, the Bulgarian giant leek.
Does that grow throughout the summer?
It should. I mean, it doesn't give a... it says, a long, thin leek of the best quality, light green leaves, fine autumn variety that is popular in Europe.
So can you harvest some and eat them throughout the summer? I'd like to have something like that where we could...
Grow and harvest leeks in the summer?
Well, not maybe leeks, but something that we could harvest and eat throughout the summer.
Well, I mean, what did we do before? Egyptian spinach, but that got really attacked by the Japanese beetles.
Yeah, I didn't really care for it.
Well, I got popolo.
I
don't know. We'll get a good amount of spring lettuce this year. I always save my seeds for the lettuce, so we'll have plenty of lettuce in the spring. But in the summertime,
peppers, sweet peppers.
So red romaine and I think it's the Jericho.
Sweet peppers, and I want you to grow zucchini again.
Okay, I'll try again this year. I didn't do it last year. I did it the year before, and it got attacked.
You tried it last year, and it got attacked last year.
Did it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we haven't been having good luck with zucchini. So the Bulgarian giant leek, that would just look pretty in the garden though, growing.
Mm-hmm.
So all right, what else?
And those melons, we could grow
Watermelons? I think Josh was
The ones that are kind of like a cross between cantaloupe and honeydew.
Oh, yeah, those grow back automatically every year in the same spot.
But they cross-pollinated with something last year because they didn't taste good.
Last year, we harvested some that were good, didn't we? Some of them were sweet.
Most of them weren't. Most of them were really kind of...
All right, we'll give it one more year. If they don't do anything, we will replant another one. Okay. So this is going to be our 6th year, by the way, for those of you guys who know what that's about. Okay, so I saw Papa Pepper is in the audience.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
Papa Pepper famously gave me one of these at the Sukkot in the fall, and this is called the toothache plant. Let me just warn you, don't ever take this from him. If he hands you one of these, throw it and run. It numbs your mouth. Okay, so I mean, it's a toothache plant. So it numbs your mouth, and it tastes like a car battery. It's horrible. It's horrible. He had a lot of fun.
I missed out on all of that.
Papa Pepper has amazing varieties of things that he grows, okay, on his homestead. And he always brings out the craziest things for you to try. Every single time. It's the craziest things. And the crazy thing this time was this stuff here. It was the toothache plant. And I'm telling you, it tastes like a car battery. And it does work. I mean, it numbs your mouth, your tongue, and everything. And you can make it into a tincture and stuff like that. But he grew those last year. He grows a lot of different things. Not just peppers, all kinds of stuff. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I was thinking about growing these. Look at those. So, I like sunflowers. I think sunflowers look really pretty. Ever since that first year when we moved here, we had some really good video of bumblebees on the sunflowers. They just look pretty. And so I would like to get a bunch of these jumbo. These are not mammoth sunflowers. These are Mongolian giants. So these are Nephilim sunflowers. I'd like to grow a few of those. And maybe a couple other varieties just because there's so many cool sunflowers out there that I'd like to, because I think they just make a homestead look inviting, I think, in the summertime. Don't they?
Yeah.
Those look pretty?
Yeah, they look nice. Yeah.
So they have the mammoth variety over on the other page, on page 137. But on page 136, they have the Mongolian giants. So that's kind of it. That's kind of what I wanted to point out. I think we're going to go through and experiment with a couple of different ones of the different varieties. Maybe there's a couple other things. I don't know. I'll pick whatever Jamie wants. So we'll do sweet peppers again this year, obviously. The shishito sweet peppers, you like those, right? I mean, they were a heavy producer. We're selling those seeds on our website right now. So you can go on our website, buy the shishito peppers.
Which one were they? Were they the darker green or the lighter green?
They were the long sweet peppers.
That were the lighter green.
Yeah, but they turned red after a certain amount of time. And they weren't spicy. They were mostly sweet.
Yeah.
You remember? I used to eat them raw out of the garden.
Yeah. I mean, I picked them all the time to put in salad.
Yeah.
Or I would put them in whatever. Yeah, but I kind of would use them instead of onions.
Oh, yeah?
If I was making something that I wanted some kind of a veggie filler.
Yeah. It's good roughage. Chop it up. You chop a bunch of them. I mean, one plant produced like, I don't know, there's like 30 of them on every plant at any given time. And there's just tons of them. There's huge. Huge amounts. Too much that you couldn't eat them all, put it that way. So what else? So do you want to do our trivia question or do you want to go through the news?
Whatever you want to do.
People have fun with the trivia question.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm trying to think, how do we start this off? Okay, so get your Google fingers ready.
No.
They're all going to Google it. That's just what people do.
It's cheating.
I know it's cheating, but
cheating.
People are a bunch of cheaters.
Okay.
So, let me see.
I think you either know or you don't know. Although, there might not be anybody who knows if not for Google. But I think that to keep it, I think that we should give somebody a chance who truly knows and not just the best Googler.
But how are you going to know who out there is Googling and who's not?
Because people should be honest.
What if no one really knows?
Then people can start Googling.
I think this is probably of all of our trivia questions, this would be the toughest to answer without Googling it because we didn't know. We had never even heard of this.
I'd heard of it. I just never.
We never researched it.
Well, I never really put two and two together.
Okay.
And I mean, I know, I say this all the time, but I've read a lot of books and I loved reading historical fiction, especially historical fiction of the early homestead kind of era, turn of the century, kind of prairie kind of stuff. That was the stuff I loved. Anyway, so I had heard this term before. Should I say it?
Well, we'll do the question. All right, so here's the question. All right. The first person with the right answer, here's what you're going to get. You're going to get a package of hot hands. Okay? Full package. I mean, there's 10 of them in there. There's 10. It's a pretty heavy pack. So 10 hot hands come in good handy this winter. And you're also going to get a bottle of Nixol First Aid Solution. Nixol is an all-natural first aid solution. We use all this stuff around our house. Great stuff, great company, Nixol. So hot hands and Nixol. The winner is going to get both. So what is the trivia question? The trivia question is, what two ingredients did they use to keep cast iron stoves from rusting?
It was a combination.
What two ingredients did they use to keep cast iron stoves from rusting? What two ingredients? What were they? First one to put them in the chat wins. WD-40. Big Family Homestead said WD-40. Dirt and lard, no. Charcoal and oil, no. No. You're all wrong. Blacking and grease, lard and salt. Oh, I can't Google. Lard and salt. Baking soda, no. Wrong, no. Butter, lard, tallow, no. Soap, no. What two ingredients did they use to keep cast iron stoves from rusting? Black paint. Kerosene, no. Soap, no. Poo and pee, no. Bacon and bacon. Lemon and salt. Oil and vinegar. Flour and oil. No. Tallow, no. They're not going to get it. If they're all being honest and they're not Googling.
Okay, you can Google.
Boot blacking, no. Lard and bacon. Beeswax, no. See, no one's going to get it. Iron, no. Anybody close? No. No one's close. I haven't seen anybody close, right?
No, I haven't seen the ingredients, although blacking is a clue.
Well, he was talking about boot blacking.
Right, but...
He says steel and nickel, no.
This is actually called blacking the stove. Blacking in terms of being a verb, that you would black the stove.
No one has gotten close yet. Ash and water, no. Fat and charcoal, no. Blacking the stove, you can't, that's not it. But you got to have the two ingredients for blacking the stove.
What was in stove blacking?
Potato and salt, no. Come on, guys.
I guess somebody's going to have
Somebody's
to
gonna have to
Google it.
All right, open the Google gates. Go.
Hey, but you know what? I'm really encouraged because you're being honest.
Someone said pancakes. No. Tar and oil, no. No one's got it yet. What two ingredients did they use to keep cast iron stoves?
Saltpeter and charcoal.
No.
What is saltpeter made from?
No, that's nitrates. No, that's not it. Milk and ash, no. Ginger, no. What two ingredients did they use to keep cast iron stoves from rusting? Just always keep seasoning with grease in the oven. Well, I guess you could use that. All right, Benjamin Turner, he Googled it. Lamp black. Well, I guess that's carbon.
Yeah, carbon.
Okay, so Benjamin Turner got it. He got graphite and lamp black. That's it. Yeah. Homesteading and high heels got charcoal and graphite, which is basically the same thing, carbon and graphite.
Yeah.
So Benjamin Turner got it first. Homesteading and high heels got it second. Good deal.
So from what I understand, they would mix their graphite and coal with a little bit of water on a rag and just work it in and polish the stove. And it was called blacking the stove.
Right.
And I got to thinking about this because the boys and I have been listening to Farmer Boy by Laura Ingalls Wilder. We've been listening to the audiobook and loved it. I mean, the boys just laughed out loud. We both smiled. Yeah, good job, Lauren. Anyway, and the scene where Almanzo gets in trouble with his older sister and he gets mad at her and throws the blacking brush at her because he's so frustrated, and it hits the wall of the fancy parlor, his mother's special parlor that she took such delight in decorating. And the parlor was the company room of the house that nobody really hung out in because they never wanted to get it messy. Anyway, and it left a black mark on her beautiful gold and white wallpaper, and Almanzo is quaking in his shoes to think about getting whipped by his dad, like really whipped with a real horsewhip.
That's when they used to spank kids. Imagine that.
Farmer Boy by Laura Ingalls Wilder. And it's amazing. Like, it's such a great homesteading book. Mm-hmm. We're learning lots from it.
Well, I want to go into can I go into my rant now?
In a minute.
Okay.
I'm telling the story.
All right, go ahead, tell the story.
It's a good story.
Good story.
Anyway, long story short, they didn't know what to do because of the black mark on the wall. Well, his older sister, who caused the trouble in the first place by getting on his case, took pity on him. And in one of those moments in truly great literature, the siblings stuck up for each other and fixed each other's problems for each other. And it's just a great example of how two siblings can help each other. And she fixed the black mark on the wall by matching some wallpaper. Okay, so the point is that I'm listening to this thinking, oh yeah, blacking the stove, I've heard that before. But true to form, like anything, unless you really have a frame of reference for what you're reading or hearing, it kind of just skims past you and you don't even really think about it. It's part of the story, but you're involved in the plot of the story. You don't think about the little details, right? Well, because we've had this issue with the top of our stove getting rusty, and I'll let Zach take over, but because of that issue, I thought, blacking the stove. Well, I wonder what they were using because, I mean, they would have had to have something to keep the stove from rusting. I mean, I'm thinking my cast iron pans, right? Like I always season them. I always take care of them. I make sure that they don't have any salt left on them that would cause
you don't leave them wet,
liquid to stay in the pan, things like that. The problem we've had with our wood stove, the top of it, is that we boil water on it all the time, and sometimes it ends up boiling over or the bottom of the pot is wet. There's always that issue. Okay, so I'll let Zach take over.
Well, needless to say, it's starting to rust in some places on top, right? Let's see, I was going to mention, Big Family Homestead said, well, does WD-40 at least get a smoke salt? It was funny. She's not laughing. So you don't get no smoke salt there, pal. Sorry.
Sorry, Maybe I just don't get it. Why is it funny?
Because you use WD-40 for everything. It's like duct tape. All right. Hot hands, and this is going to go to Ben Turner. So that's on the way. For the right answer. Because he was quick. Or Lauren got the answer. His wife got the answer. So as we noticed this problem getting worse and worse with our cast iron stove, it was starting to rust. Like she said, there's moisture that collects over there with basically the pots, how we heat our water, or we fill up our water and there's moisture on the bottom of the pots. It's starting to rust. And I'm like, well, she goes to the store one day and I said, well, just get whatever the guy at the store tells you. Because did you go to Chicken Holler or where'd you go?
No, he told me they had the specific instructions. I said, I will take care of it so you don't have to. So I called the place where we bought our stove because
Right.
he was very particular. It should match. Whatever we choose to refinish the top should match with the rest of it. So I called the guy and he says, oh, well, there's all sorts of different colors. You really need to come in and tell me your stove so that I can point you in the right direction. And I'm thinking, he wouldn't tell me over the phone, which got me slightly irritated. Because I'm sorry, but it's 2 hours over there. Anyway.
So where'd you get this?
I
you
got
found it
it
online?
on Amazon and I made my best guess because I wasn't going to drive 2 hours for him to tell me, what is it? Satin black versus matte black. I think those were the two choices.
Right. So let me get this up here. So Stove Bright. This is what we decided to go ahead and get for the stove. And she brings it home, and I'm like, okay, great. She got something. I'm glad she got something.
Well, it came in the mail.
Or it came in the mail. And I was happy that we had that now. That problem is solved, okay? Yeah. Then I looked at the can. I'm not kidding you. There's over a dozen warnings on this thing. If you open this can, if you even look at it sideways, it's going to kill you. I mean, there's 2 warnings right on the front, right there. In different paragraphs, right? And then there's scattered warnings throughout this whole first paragraph here, okay? And listing all the ingredients here, okay? I mean, and some of these ingredients are like, okay, aluminum, dimethyl, propane, toluene, acetone, butane, xylene, petroleum distillates, copper, chromite, all kinds of things that you're like, what? And then this last section of here is it's just one giant warning label. Let's see. Where's the one that I always read here? It's funny. It's the one that if you don't wear a respirator, you're going to die. Oh, failing to wear proper respiratory protection may result in permanent brain and nervous system damage. I mean, it's full of stuff like that. You're going to die if you open this can. I'm like, what person would want to use this in your home? I mean, especially if you have kids. And so there's warnings for when you apply it. There's warnings for when you first fire up the stove. You have to spend 2 days with the windows open and baking it off.
Yeah, you have to put it on and you have to burn your stove hot for 2 full days straight with the windows open because you can't be smelling the fumes.
Right. And so this thing, and what does it say here? Cancer and reproductive harm. I mean, it's just so much stuff on here. Why would you want this in your house? And so I'm like, there's got to be a better way. After I read all this, I told her, did you see all these warnings? I'm like, I really don't want this.
Well, we said, okay, then we're just going to have to leave it like it is because, I mean, that's better than this stuff.
Better than this.
So we set it on the shelf and forgot about it until I listened to Farmer Boy.
You can't even throw the can away. You have to give it to the EPA. I'm not kidding you. It's what it says on here. So go ahead, Farmer Boy.
Anyway, it got me to thinking because I just think it's amazing that whenever, I'm just a nerd. I know I'm a nerd, but when I read something, if it doesn't resonate with me, it goes right by me. But if it's something that I've thought about or it's in my mind or I have a frame of reference for it, it causes me to stop and examine it. And I think that that's really cool because you can read the same book many times and different things jump out at you. And this time, the stove blacking jumped out at me, of all things.
Because we've been talking about it.
Right. Well, I just think that that's cool that we can find these things in literature that was written back then.
It's always been the question. You know, when we have a question on what it is we're to do, how can we do something, we always ask ourselves, what did they do 100 years ago? What did they do 200 years ago? What if they didn't have such and such or this and that? How did they get by? What did they do? You know, how did they preserve their meat? You know, how did they make sausages? And, you know, because, I mean, you know, when we're going to get this next week, I'm going to go get my sausages out of the root cellar at our neighbor's place. And, you know, I bought my casings, you know, through the mail. What if I couldn't buy my casings through the mail? How did they do that? All these things, you just ask the question. Well, they had wood stoves. Well, how did they? Obviously, they had the same problem. They cook with them. And so we did some Googling before the show and saw that most people don't really use their wood stoves for the way we use it. We actually use our wood stove, not just for wood heat, but for cooking and all this other stuff, the way people did 200 years ago, 100 years ago.
Yeah, and that's why we have the top of it rusting.
Because they had the top of theirs rusting too. And so what did they do? And then, it dawns on us. There is an answer to this problem.
So we'll see. We'll get some stove blacking and see what we can do.
She found some over at where? Layman's?
Layman's had some.
Layman's had, believe it or not, Layman's. Same where we got all these the lanterns. So we'll get some and then go ahead and
the water pump.
And get and the water pump.
Pitcher pump.
The faucet pump. Is it over there? Can't see it.
Yeah, it's too dark.
But anyway, so we'll get some and then we'll do a video on it and let you know how that works.
Yeah, I'm guessing we'll have to sand it maybe with some steel wool or something like that.
He had a brush. I bet it was a wire brush.
Yeah, but it's been a while and there's
I'm talking about El Manzo.
I know, but they did it regularly, so I'm thinking that we need to even up the surface a little bit because there's some raised parts.
So we'll do something like that. Again, we'll do a video on it and share it with you guys. So let's hit the news real quick, and then we'll open up to the chat real quick, let you guys know. You saw this ticker on the bottom of the screen. Garden seeds are for sale. Some of the varieties that we grow here. Also, it's the Gunner Ram. This is Jamie's favorite shirt, the Gunner Ram. It's the Homestead Gunner Ram, and it's for sale right now. And your purchase goes and really helps the homestead. So, get one. Okay. Buy homestead merch.
You're just begging for a response, aren't you? Like, you're baiting me.
Okay, I'm sorry. So, all right, first article. Let me go over to the screen here and okay, new research. It says this is from Climate Change Dispatch. Now, all these articles we're going to go through tonight are mainstream media articles. I saw all these on Drudge Report over the last recent time, or I saved them from past time.
Are they seeing the article on their screens?
Yeah, they're seeing the article.
So they're not seeing us anymore?
No, they're seeing the article. So now, this one here says, new research, methane emissions from livestock have no detectable effect on the climate. And this has been a big thing because, they say cattle, produce methane. It's one of the things they're always pushing to figure out ways to not grow cattle anymore, and so that we can reduce climate change and greenhouse gases and all this other stuff. Well, we were just over at a friend's house for dinner the other day, and he has a crazy neighbor lady. And she's really upset because, I guess I can just say it's, Shalom Acres. A lot of people know Shalom Acres in our audience.
I don't think he would care.
No, he doesn't care. No, he don't care. He has fun with it. So he has a crazy neighbor lady, and she's really upset because she is being surrounded by his cows because he has not like he's not like a cattle baron or anything, but he's got some good number of cows.
Yeah.
And sheep.
Yeah.
And she's really upset because these cows are contributing to global warming, and she has told him, your cows are causing methane gas. Well, now look at that. New research says methane emissions from livestock have no detectable effect on the climate. You could send this article to her, and she can now rest easy with the cows. Isn't that interesting? Yep. Anyway, really good, interesting article there. If you're interested in all of the climate, because this is always talked about in the news, climate change and blaming people who own cattle or livestock. All right, next article. Some Californians are hiring private fire crews to save their homes. Regular firefighters aren't happy about it. Now, Jamie told me I had talked about this article before. I may have mentioned this in another video. So a few months back, this was published in November 27th of 2018. We had all those major fires in California, and it came out in the news that a lot of people in California and a lot of more affluent neighborhoods were hiring their own private firefighters because they couldn't rely on the government firefighters. They were stretched too far thin, and they wanted to make sure their homes were going to, survive, these fires that were coming through. And anytime I see this stuff, I think this is the way to go. If I was a private, if I could hire a private fire, if I was one of those people and I could afford that, yeah, do it. One of the insurance companies that says they were putting together these private firefighter teams was USAA, which is the, right there, USAA, which is the insurance company we use because it's for former military, and veterans. So I've told people time and time again, guys, I'm really serious about this. If you live in rural America, if you live in a place where it's, well off the beaten path, you need to do your own fire protection. Every house that has caught fire out where we live has burned to the ground. And usually the fire department doesn't get there for like at least an hour. Maybe less, but by the time they get there, it's lost. It's gone. So you need to have water tanks. You need to have fire extinguishers at a bare minimum. And having a couple of working fire pumps is something that's important, especially during the wintertime when, your stoves are going and things like that. Do not count on a fire crew to get to your place.
I just think, too, just being proactive with your habits. I remember when we lived in St. Louis, we knew a woman who walked out of the house to go shopping, I believe, and left a bottle heating on the stove with the burner on. And the whole house didn't burn, but the kitchen pretty much was a disaster. I don't know if other people do this, but I really think that it's a good habit. Before you leave the house, check the stove, check the oven, make sure things are turned off.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, be proactive. Don't leave the house with candles burning or whatever. It seems like just silly, things that everybody knows, but
the reason it says, the article says the regular firefighters aren't happy about it is because these are government paid employees. And anytime you try to do something outside of government's handling, they are not happy about it because they think they should help protect you in everything. And sometimes the best way to do something is to do it yourself. And that couldn't be more true when you're living off grid, when you're living out in rural America. You have got to do this yourself. It's most places out where we live, you can't even get insurance. And if you do, you're going to pay astronomical fees because they know there's no way a fire truck's getting up this hill. Even if they got up here, there's no hydrant for them to connect to. So there's no water source. You're only going to be able to get what they can get here with, which isn't much. And so they know your house is a lost cause. If your house catches fire, the insurance company will pay for it. And they're going to be, they don't want to do that. So they're not going to either give you insurance or they're going to charge you an arm and a leg for it. So what it comes down to is it falls on you. And so if you're not ready for that responsibility, you may need to think about living in a very rural area. It just is what it is. Okay, quickly moving on because we want to get over to the chat room. This one here, this was great too. It also reminded me of the Shalom Acres. So, woman fined for feeding birds in her own garden. Woman fined for feeding birds in her own garden. So this took place in the UK, and a woman who's a bird lover has infuriated neighbors over the last 2 years because she has been putting out tons of birdseed, and she's been bringing in tons of pigeons and gulls and all kinds of other things. and they are making a mess. They're pooping all over everyone's houses and gardens and backyards and cars, and they're just making an entire mess because so many birds, hundreds of birds, are coming in and just making a mess of the whole neighborhood. And so they have been trying to get this woman for years or last couple of years, to stop putting out so much bird seed, and she won't do it. And finally, they arrested her and took her to court and fined her. At first you're like, oh, the poor woman, she's just trying to feed the birds. But you know what? I mean, if you're the neighbor and you got all these birds, coming into your place, and they're destroying the stuff that, your garden and your flowers, and, they're pooping on your car and ruining your paint job, I mean, you're pretty ticked off. And so the reason this reminded me of Shalom Acres, again, they have a little bit of they have a neighbor who's a few fries short of a Happy Meal. And she does the same thing with deer. And I guess the last time we were over there visiting with them, not the last time, but the time before last, we drove home, and it was at night, and I couldn't believe it. There must have been 20 or 30 deer on the side of the road that were nearby where this woman lives. And it's because they're coming in like crazy. And so for Shalom Acres and some of these other people in the area, they're eating all their flowers, they're eating all their gardens, the deer are getting everywhere, and you can't put fences high enough to keep them out, really. And so they're just destroying their gardens and all the things they're growing. I think the solution is to start shooting all the deer. Just shoot the deer. And same with the birds. I think the neighbors should be allowed to shoot all the birds. If you're going to bring the birds in, that's fine, but we're going to shoot them. See how that goes. Well, then maybe the lady wouldn't put out so much feed because she knows they're just going to get shot. I mean, makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so the neighbor lady doesn't like her deer getting shot. Well, stop putting out so much feed. Well, she knows it's actually illegal in this state to put out feed after December 31st. You can actually get fined for that. Anyway, that's the news. I just thought I'd throw those out there. Good articles, interesting articles, homestead related, sort of, kind of, in a weird way. Anyway, let's see. Let's go over to the chat. Do I have everything out? Did I cover everything else? I think so. Did I tell you to buy the shirts? Buy the shirts. Okay. So if you have questions or comments, we don't do gripes and complaints here, but if, maybe another day. Hard to stay serious with that video playing, Zach, she says.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, that was a T-Rex.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to see on a UK site. I mean, I'm just glad there wasn't any half-naked ladies on there. Because usually on a UK site, they do that a lot. Was just saying the same thing. Probably about shooting the birds and the deer. That's what Scott says.
I think it was the video.
Glass gem corn. Yeah, that was the thing I wanted to say about this. Whenever you go into the Baker Creek, look for any questions we should be paying attention for.
Okay.
They always have the most prettiest corn. And I want to grow all of them, but see, you can only really grow one corn unless you have a large amount of space because they will cross-pollinate. Where'd it go? Oh, yeah. I mean, they always have the really pretty corn. Look at this one here. Look at that corn. Montana Kudu. Isn't that really nice?
That's pretty. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I tried growing these, the maize coulis corn. That's these before. I tried growing those 2 years ago, and they did okay. They had some worms, some issues with worms, but they did okay. See that?
First question. Hold on. Ugh.
Here, hit the pop out.
I don't know how to do that.
You go here. Pop out chat. I'll bring it over to your side so you can see.
Okay. Would you guys consider doing a parenting series?
Where's my belt?
Oh. I feel like people
They may throw us in jail.
Want to know what I have to say, and I feel like I would step on a lot of toes.
Start spanking your kids for crying out loud.
I mean, I'm super old fashioned. I just, the boys play outside. They read lots of books. They play with toys, but a lot of the time they have their chores. I mean, we keep them busy, but they get plenty of playtime.
Bobblehead Homestead says, so what's the thing on that? Will we ever do a parenting series? They would probably seriously throw us in jail.
I think the long and short of my answer is probably not, but if I was to ever do it, I just say parenting is leading by example. I mean, whatever it is you want your kids to do and be, you have to be that. Mm-hmm. And if you are not that, then you cannot expect your children to be that.
YouTube hates us already. You want them to hate us some more? Why do you hate me? Why are you doing this to me?
Like, for example, you want your kids to do better at school or be more interested in reading a book that they're supposed to be reading. But do they ever see you reading? Those are the kind of things that I would put in a parenting video or a parenting series.
That's all they see you doing is this.
I think that wouldn't be very popular. So, anyway.
Okay. Bobblehead Homestead wants to know, what fruit trees, berries do you have and would recommend for Arkansas? I tell you what I would not recommend, and that's apple trees. If you want apples, move to Washington or Michigan or up north somewhere. Wisconsin, I hear, makes good apples. The apple trees down here have a lot of disease. If you're going to grow them natural apple trees, there are a lot of orchards in our area that have come and gone because of disease. The biggest one being cedar rust, and so entire orchards have been wiped out with different pest and herbicides or whatever it is. Cedar rust is the big one. But if you want what's worked really good around here, what I have seen over and over again are peaches, pears, and apricots. Apricots do really good here. So, and maybe nectarines to some extent. I don't know if there's any other treatments you have to do with those, but peaches, pears, apricots. Those are what I've seen that work great. Blueberries also work excellent here. The soil for Arkansas is awesome for blueberries. We just don't really like blueberries all that much. It's not one of our favorite things.
No, I don't like blueberries.
Not our favorite. No. But if you do like blueberries, they grow excellent here because the soil is very acidic. They love these. And there's actually a blueberry farm right down the road from us, not that far. But there's lots of blueberry farms in this area. Lots of blueberry farms.
Tutorial for my head covering.
You get this question a lot.
I do get this question a lot. I may consider it. However, here's my issue. I copied the ones that I make from another website. Now, I did not get her pattern. She does not have a pattern, but she makes them and sells them. And what I did was, because I know how to sew and it seemed pretty easy for me, I just looked at the pictures on her website and figured out my pattern based on what hers looked like. So I'm really kind of leery in doing that. I feel like I would be taking away from her. You know what I mean? Yeah. Isn't that?
Yeah.
This one that I'm wearing right now, it's actually a different one than I've worn in a lot of previous videos. I got this one actually from her. And maybe a couple months ago now? Anyway, I just say that if you want to support a small business, go buy some from her. And if not, I just feel really uncomfortable doing a tutorial about how to make them when I copied her and how hers looked.
Kenny wants to know, do you use any product in that beard to keep it going? Gun oil. Gun oil. Benjamin Turner says he has apples that are doing good because he lives up north.
Yeah.
He lives in Michigan. Cedar rust. I'm telling you, apple trees. People grow apple trees. They do a couple. They can do it for you. We have a couple apple trees. And they're doing okay. But we have spotted since we put those trees. We have spotted cedar rust now on our cedars every year. So it's only a matter of time before it gets it. Go Google and research the life cycle of cedar rust. You'll see it takes a couple years, but once it gets going, it's gonna be hard to stop. Obviously, what's it called? Mulberries do good here too. Mulberries. Use any okay, Bonner Jackson. What do you recommend for mulch when wood chips are hard to come by? I don't want something that's going to be a fire hazard like straw. Straw makes great mulch. I mean, why would you not want to use it? I mean, are you making fires out in your garden? So I use straw. Straw is actually, in my opinion, immensely dense nutrient wise. That's what they use for a lot of mushroom companies. When they make high end mushrooms, they use straw to make their growing blocks, things like that. Shiitakes, oyster mushrooms, because they're so nutrient dense. There's a lot of nutrients in straw. You think it's just the wheat that they grow with, but the straw itself's got a lot of nutrients in it. You can use it for plants. Plants love it. It'll help make a garden very fertile. So I don't see anything wrong with straw. Straw's good. Put wheat straw down if you can get it. I found a place in Missouri where I got it, and they sell it for like $3.50 a bale. And so we got 42 bales. Video's coming out this week. Have you got any tips on making it stay?
Making it stay.
Glue.
It depends what kind you're using, which is a whole ball of wax in itself.
Oh yeah, elderberries too.
Listen, I don't LS. I'm not sure what your name is, but I'm not sure that this is really something others want to hear about, but you could message me and ask me these, and I could get back to you and give you a few pointers if you'd like. You can message me on Facebook.
I have a very old wild apple tree, does great in the central Missouri climate. The seeds will self-propagate. One tree makes more apples than my family can eat. Okay, central Missouri, I mean, if it's north of I-70, the I-70 corridor, it may do okay. But the Ozarks are full of cedars, which means cedar rust. And so old apple trees are not something usually that you see a lot around here. Let me back up. If you want to put in an apple orchard and you want it to succeed, you can do that. There's no problem. You can make that happen, but you're going to use lots of chemicals, lots of soaps, lots of fungicides that are going to be a lot of mostly chemically based, and you're going to use that, and you're going to get a great crop of apples. I'm just telling you right there. They have up in St. Louis, they have Eckert's Apple Orchard, and even they have had problems. But you can get by with a good apple orchard if you use the chemicals. If you're doing it natural, I'm just telling you, if apples are your thing, move north because they're not meant to grow here. It's just not something that does well here because of the cedar rust and the cedars. There are things that just grow better here in the south, and peaches are one, apricots are another, and pear trees. Mm-hmm. Naturally, if you want natural ones. I mean, you can make apples grow. You're just going to have to spray it down with a bunch of goo. Do you guys make your own flour? And if you do, can you recommend a grinder? We have both. We have manual and electric.
And I always say it wrong because
Whisper.
there are two very good electric flour mills on the market. Two very good ones. The Whisper Mill, which I have, and the Nutri Mill. Nutrimil, and I've used both of them. I have the Whisper Mill. Actually, they changed names. Again, another reason why I get it wrong, because they changed names. I think it's called the Wonder Mill now. The Wonder Mill and the Whisper Mill are the same.
Yes, I think you're right.
And the Nutrimil is the other brand, and the Nutrimil is just as good.
Mm-hmm. Why is Shalom Acres not loading any new videos? It's because his sheep are holding him hostage, and so you need to buy more T-shirts. We're going to go down and rescue Shalom Acres. What about citrus trees? Citrus trees don't grow here. This is not Florida, Scott Hutzler. It's Arkansas, okay, the Ozarks. If you want citrus trees, you need to go south. Let's see. What was the other one I saw? Baker Mom wants to know where we get our apples then.
Where do we get apples?
Walmart.
Yeah. We don't put up any apples, though.
No. We tried one year because we had an abundance of apples come into the pantry.
That's a bad memory.
So one year we had a bunch of apples come in because I work at I volunteer at a food pantry on Tuesdays. And one year, it was a couple years ago, we had just loads and loads of apples coming in. We couldn't even give them all away. People wouldn't take them. I mean, and some of them were kind of, starting to go a little bit, And so I brought home a couple crates worth of apples. And she tried to can them. Or water bath.
I did
was it water bath?
Can them, and there was no trying about it. I did can them.
She did water bath.
I made applesauce.
Yeah, applesauce.
And I followed an established. You can tell I'm a little touchy on the subject. I followed the recipe. You can continue.
Okay, and so a few months went by, and we noticed that the jars didn't seal all that great.
No, they had sealed, but the seals broke.
Okay, so the seals broke. The seals broke, and there was mold in almost all the jars.
Yeah.
They didn't take.
And they had to be thrown out.
So it was all big waste. But I think that same year I had so many apples.
It was 2 days of solid work. Mm-hmm. And it was a lot of applesauce. I feel like it was like...
It was a lot of applesauce.
I want to say it was 4 dozen pints.
Anyway, so we didn't... They have apples here, and most of them come in from Walmart. And it was just Walmart had a ton of apples, or is it Harps, or whatever local store here had a ton of apples, and they just gave them to the food pantry. And so whenever that happens, then we may make applesauce again sometime.
I mean, that stuff happens.
It may be years before that happens
and
again.
I don't think that you maybe canned long enough maybe done enough, or I feel like we've all had those things.
Right. It happens. It just happens. You do this long enough, and you're going to have things that just don't go great. So it just is what it is. I'm only 21. How much money do you need to save to get a homestead started? I feel like I will be 40 or 50 by the time I can even get anything going. Any tips? Buy Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin. And, in about 3 or 4 years, when it's worth $1 million, you can buy a homestead. I'm just kidding. Don't take nothing I say is to be considered financial advice. I don't know. Listen, you can do a homestead on 2 acres. Don't think you need 40 or 50 acres. Don't think you need 10 acres. Don't think you need 100 acres. You can homestead on 2 acres, 1 or 2, even 1 acre. You can do a lot on 1 acre. I think, most people who live in a subdivision, they're on like 1/10 of an acre of land. You can't do anything with that. So get out of the subdivisions, try to find a big neighborhood, maybe find a place where you can get an acre or 2 of land, and then pay it off, and then put a tiny house on it and live there because you're only 21, and and then expand as you can afford it, right there, and stay out of debt. That's the best advice I can give you. It is 9:01, and so we are going to end the show. Is there any other buy silver, not Bitcoin? Buy both. Buy both. Buy silver, not Bitcoin. Yeah, so I guess.
Is that it?
That's it. We'll see you next time on An American Homestead. Is there a butcher kit you would recommend for cleaning wild game? A knife. That's all you need. Just a knife.
And a bucket of water.
A bucket of water is good, too. Bucket of water is good. All right, guys. See you next time on the Homestead. Bye.